All right, Nick, Jimmy, are we ready to press the panic button on a couple of these Celtics players? Let's break it down. But first thing first, guys, this report, of course, is brought to you by 1 in 100. Head over to 1in100.co, your online raffle to score tickets to the World Series, future Celtics games, and other concert events going on in the city. That's 1in100.co. Jimmy, let's start with Jaylen Brown because let's face it, I mean, offensively, he's been struggling a bit throughout the first 4 games of the season. We're waiting for him to sort of make that leap, but we haven't really seen it. Where do you stand with Jaylen?
Am I going to hit the panic button?
Are you hitting that panic button?
I'm actually going to hold off on hitting the panic button. I'm not there yet. I think Jaylen's not the type of player where he's going to start pressing. He's smarter than that. I think he's one of those guys that just needs to find his role in the team because when he looks around, I'm sure he sees Kyrie, then he sees Gordon, he sees Horford, and he sees Tatum. And it's pretty obvious that he's probably the 5th scoring option on this team. So I don't think he wants to force shots, and maybe he is overthinking a little bit out there. But if he just plays his game, which is he's a good two-way player, he's smart out there, he usually doesn't force things. He's not the best ball handler. I think we can all admit that. But if he sticks to what he knows, he'll contribute to this team. I don't think you shouldn't expect to see 20-point games out of him. But at the same time, you shouldn't expect to see 5-point games out of him either. Right. So I think we can all agree that there's certainly been room for improvement over the first 4 games. But I'm not really there yet to be concerned.
How about you, Nick?
I mean, under 10 a game. He's not shooting well. Still having problems.
Sub-30s.
Yeah, having
mid-30s.
Mid-30s. Still having problems in traffic, controlling the basketball. Definitely seems a little lost. It seems like his head is a little bit ahead of his body as I almost fall off the stool.
I wasn't going to acknowledge
your body
it,
was almost ahead of your head.
No, you played it off, but now you called yourself out. But go ahead.
No, it's all right, man. But it seems like his head's a little bit, moving faster than his body, and he's getting lost out there. Be careful, though. I'm a little uneven because of this box score. So
yeah,
I think he's the guy who had to make the most adjustments. I mean, obviously with Gordon Hayward back in the mix,
Jaylen Brown, he sit in a stool.
Those corner threes that we got used to seeing last season, especially in the postseason, we're not really seeing a lot of those. But he's still trying to find ways to be effective.
Good thing we saw all those Instagram posts in the summer. Where was he? Like he was all over, working out all over.
He was doing his thing. Nick.
All over the world, all over the country.
Man. Yeah, he's a worldly man.
Jeez. Nick, you like to throw shade at Jaylen Brown.
Jealous,
I appreciate
bro?
it.
No, I'm not throwing shade at him.
Well, you don't think he worked out hard enough?
Off camera.
Listen, man, I'm not judging him one way or the other after 4 games. Let's put it
damn
that
right
way.
You're not.
Backpedaling. Backpedaling as usual.
Let's get that button back up.
Next player, Kyrie Irving.
Am I gonna hit that panic button?
You hitting that panic button on Kyrie Irving?
No, I'm not panicked about Kyrie Irving.
Well, even those first halves throughout the first 4 games?
Listen, Kyrie Irving is Kyrie Irving. I think that we've seen enough out of him over his career where nobody should be panicked about Kyrie Irving right now. He's in a contract year. Not that it matters. He's going to get max from anybody in the world. It doesn't really matter how he does this year. All he's going to do is stay healthy. The production's going to come. I think he is the leader of this team. I think he thinks he is, and I think he's going to work with whatever
his teammates think he is.
Whatever lineup he's in, and he's going to make it work over time. Now, there's going to be some kinks along the way, and sure, he has to adjust his game because when he looks around, just like Jaylen Brown looks around, he sees a lot of other options on this team, so he's going to pick and choose his spots. But when he's aggressive like he was in the third quarter Monday night, you saw what he can do. He still got the ball handle. He still got the drives to the basket. Unfortunately, he missed that shot to end the game or to tie the game in the end of the fourth quarter, but you can't tell me that people still don't want him taking shots.
Well, let me ask you this, Jimmy, and we'll get to Nick in a second.
We don't have to.
No problem.
We don't even have to.
Yeah, Nick, you can just sit this one out. Between this year and last year, what's the difference? Because what was the biggest headline throughout the first, 10, 12, 15 games?
There. Could you put this
Kyrie Irving, were you really? Kyrie Irving was the guy who would just sort of put the team on his back, get them out of whatever it was, whether it was a 12-point hole, 15-point hole. He'd go off in the second half, and the game would be over. Why aren't we seeing that this year?
Remember the first 4 or 5 games of the season until they lost 2 in a row, then they ripped off 16 straight. Kyrie started really getting in during that 16-game win streak. Prior to that, it was similar, where he was kind of trying to get other people involved, which seems to be the case right now. I'm not concerned at all. If Kyrie Irving wants to take over a game, he saw it in the third quarter, he could do it. Not concerned.
What about
rare good
quarter,
point
though?
by Nick, though.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Rare good
props.
point.
That's a rare Jimmy giving Nick props.
Now I'm really going
on
to
the
fall
Garden
off the stool.
Report.
Don't get too. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get your head ahead of your body again. Next.
All right, last
one.
Wait,
what about you? Are you hitting it?
I'm not hitting it. No, not at all. I think he's just trying to incorporate his guys, like you guys said. Jason Tatum has a lot to do with that. I mean, you saw what Jason Tatum did in New York. Whether you two think that they should have won that game or not, I mean, Jason Tatum was the go-to guy, and he got the ball twice, if you remember that. And who gave him the ball the second time? None other than Kyrie Irving, because that's how much confidence this team has in Jason Tatum.
So now
I have just as much, if not more.
No, I get it, but I just think that's the biggest difference between last year and this year. A year ago, Jason Tatum is not getting that ball at the end of the game. In Game 3 of the regular season. No way, no chance.
Let's do the obligatory Hayward.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
And here come
Spoiler alert.
the comments and the hater section.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, Jimmy.
Am I hitting the panic button?
Are you hitting the panic button, Gordon
Hitting
Hayward?
that button.
Oh.
Hitting that button. Okay. And now listen, I didn't expect him to come out like world beaters, to start the year.
Will
But
be free?
I haven't seen a whole lot yet. The thing that I'm, kind of, I didn't like hearing, I guess, but I'm not surprised, is that he says he still feels pain in the ankle every time he plays. He obviously had to sit against the Knicks, which was planned ahead of time. So I think, we're not seeing the production just because he's just not there yet physically. So my concern, my panic, if you will, is at what point will he be there? Will it even be this year? Will we see 95% Gordon Hayward, or are we going to see 80% Gordon Hayward? Because I still think he's thinking about there. And even on the defensive end, he looks a step slower. He looks a little timid underneath the hoop. Like, guys are kind of jumping over him, for putbacks or whatever it may be. And I know that he's a better player than that, and I'm sure he does too. So what I hope doesn't happen is that he gets frustrated and then starts to press a little bit and then overthinks it, because he's just not where he is yet.
I'm not concerned. I'm going to stick with the not concerned. This is he missed the New York game. Thankfully, he was back tonight. They said it wasn't serious. Toronto, he played well, showed his best showing. Against Orlando.
They lost.
They lost, but against Orlando, he had a reasonably good game. Passing the ball well, shooting decently. I think he's progressing as well as we can expect him to, considering the injury that he just is recuperating from.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not panicking, but then again, my expectations are a lot lower than most people have Gordon Hayward this season. I mean, I'm projecting this guy to score, 14, 15 points tops a game.
Sure.
If you're expecting Gordon Hayward to score 20 points, then you should hit that panic button as hard as Jimmy did. I think that button went through the
I
parquet.
wasn't expecting that either, but
that button, you just broke the parquet.
Yeah, there's a crack.
Got a lot of explaining to
that was
do
the only
now.
button. That was the only time I got to hit the button, so I wanted to make sure I hit it hard.
No whammies.
I'm
where
also
do you-
hitting the panic button
Big
on
bucks.
Nick.
Where do our viewers see
the
things?
panic button
Hit
on
us up on the comment section as usual. The Garden Report coming at you from TD Garden, CLNS Media.